Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat and the new t-shirt and the new Python lesson that's Guess the Number game. So let's get into it. All right, so this is Python Guess the Number game, and first off we're just going to start with a simple game where they just guess the number as an easy level. So this is later on when we have levels. So we're just going to start off that they get one guess at a number actually between 1 to 10, but then we move into this one where they get 3 guesses. So the best guess for 1 to 10 is 5 in the middle, and then we go 5, no, that's too high. So the computer tells us no, the magic number is sort of, or its mystery number is too bigger than, smaller than 5. So we try 3, which is a bit smaller. It still says we're too high. And so we try 2, but it turned out the magic number was 1. So we didn't quite get it on that one. So that was playing at level 1 easy. Then if we go to level 2 here, which is called challenging, you get to have 6 guesses, but you've got a number between 1 and 100. So, okay, first thing is guess the 50, because that's the best guess between 1 to 100, and that was too high. So we tried 25, that's still too high. So we know it's between 1 and 25. Anyway, we guess our way down here, and we nearly got it. We were so close. We got down to 3, which was still too high, and we'd used up our 6 guesses and ran out of guesses. So the game was over, and the mystery number was 2. And then you can play level 3, challenging. All right, difficult, sorry. Level 3 is difficult, where you get 10 guesses, and it's 1 to 1,000. So let's jump across and just show you that in action in Python. Okay, so here we are with our number guessing game running in Python. Now we're going to go for easy first up. So we'll choose that our level is 1 easy. So we've got to do a number from 1 to 10. 5 is the best first guess, so we'll do 5. That's too low, so it must be bigger. It must be between 5 and 10. Let's try 8 and see how we go. That's it, we guessed it, and we did it in 2 guesses when we had 3 to go, so that was pretty good. All right, now if we press any key to exit, and press enter, that will close that down. All right, so let's go again, and this time we're going to do the level 2 challenging. So on level 2 challenging, you're guessing 1 to 100, so the best guess is 50 for your first one, and 50 is too low, so we know it must be 50 to 100, somewhere in that range. So let's try 75, kind of right in the middle of that, and see how we go. Now with this one, we get 6 guesses, so we've used up 2 guesses so far. 75 is too low. Okay, so it must be between 75 and 100. So let's try 80 and see how we go. 80 is too low. Let's try 90. 90 is too low. Okay, 95. 95 is too low. Wow, maybe we're running out of guesses here. 97? 97 was too high, so the number was 96. Okay, so we just missed that one. All right, press enter, and we'll just do one more where we do the really difficult level. So here we better kind of make it super long. So let's try difficult, and we better make some space here for us to go down. So enter a number from 1 to 1,000. Okay, so we'll try 500 first. We're just telling you, we're running it with Word in the background just to make a white screen to work off. 500 was too high. Okay, maybe it's only a low number. Let's try 250. 250 was too high. Wow, let's try 100. 100's too low. Okay, so we'll try 150. 150's too high. Okay, so it's 100 to 150. Let's try 120. 120 is too low. Let's try 130. 130 is too high, so maybe 125. 125 is too low. 126. Yeah, we got it, and we got it in 8 guesses when we had 10 guesses for the whole thing. So the mystery number was 126. Oh yeah, go Team Passy. We've cracked it there on the most difficult level. Okay, so just to recap there. What we're doing is, see, we've got level 1. If you choose level 1, it's going to be 1 to 10. You get 3 guesses altogether. If you choose level 2, it's 1 to 100 is the range of the mystery number, and there's 6 guesses at getting it. If you choose level 3, well, the computer's made up a mystery number between 1 and 1,000, which is quite a big range, but you do get 10 guesses, and it is possible to beat the computer and work out which one it is, okay? So what we're going to start off with is we're just going to forget about the levels to start off with and just make a really simple game, and then we're going to build and build. So we're using the Agile methodology where there's several versions. We start off with version 1, where the player only gets 1 guess at some number between 1 to 10. So we'll just like program into the program, you know, mystery number equals 7, but don't tell the player that. And yeah, they'll get one guess to guess what it is, all right? The next version of the program, they're gonna get 3 guesses. They get 3 chances to guess what the mystery number is. It's still just gonna be hard-coded as mystery number equals 7. Then we're gonna have the computer randomly generate. So if you've done our previous lessons, you know about random numbers, and that'll come quickly to you. If you haven't, it doesn't matter, we'll show you in this lesson anyway. Then we're going to move on to where the player can choose a difficulty level, easy, challenging, or difficult. And as you saw, depending on what level they choose, they're going to have more guesses. So the while loop, which is controlling the guessing, if it's 1 to 10, the while loop will run 3 times. 3 will be the maximum guesses they're allowed. If they choose level 2, all we do is set that their maximum guesses is 6. They can have 6 guesses at the number. And if they choose level 3, we just set them up with a 10 guesses maximum level. So this is the Agile process, where we just build a very simple little starter pack first, see if that works, and we gradually add on to it and add on to it. And then we get to the stage where we've got our whole game with levels and everything in it, and it's going to be really cool. So it's like building a house. Like, you don't have all the trades guys turn up all at once, and there's guys plastering walls, people painting, people putting the roof on, people putting the frame up. How could the roof go on if they haven't even done the frame and the sides of the house yet? You know, you've got to have the foundations, then they put up the walls, then they put the roof on, then they put the windows in, you know, then bricks, and then painters and plasterers and plumbers and electricians and all that sort of stuff. So there is an order where you gradually build it up till you get the finished version. That's the Agile methodology, and that is the one which is used most commonly today in programming. So for version 1, the simple version where we start off our Agile, laying the foundations, is where we want the player to guess a number between 1 and 10, but we're not going to check also the player's input. Like, the player could be silly and like a Homer Simpson and type in 0.35. Well, we won't worry about that. We just assume they're smart and they're going to type in a whole number. And we'll congratulate them if they manage to guess the number. We'll tell them when their guess is too low, and we'll tell them if their guess was too high. So they only get one guess. At the end, it'll either be, oh, sorry, your guess was too low. Oh, sorry, your guess was too high. Or it might be really lucky, and we can congratulate them if they manage to guess the number. And that'll be pretty cool if they only did it in one guess. So they only get one chance to guess at the number. And this is the pseudocode you need. So we always start with pseudocode to build the logic for our program. So at the top, we have a begin, and down the bottom, we have an end. And if you've been following along doing our course, pseudocode is something we have talked about and have introduced already. So we're just going to hard code or set that the computer answer equals 7, and you use a backwards arrow is strict pseudocode convention for that, rather than put an equal sign there, which is a pain, but that's the way it works. Then we're going to have, it's going to say on the screen, like you saw, enter a number in the range 1 to 10. There's going to be an opportunity there, like the cursor will flash with a Python input statement for the player to enter their number value. And here's how the logic works. We'll just check if the player guess is bigger than the computer answer of 7. We're going to say, sorry, your guess was too high. Else, so the other situation is maybe their number's smaller than the computer answer, so we'll check that out. And if that happens, they'll get the message that the guess was too low, and this if loop condition statement finishes there. And if it isn't too big and if it isn't too small, a bit like Snow, who was it? It was Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the chairs, you know. This one's too little, this one's too big, this one's just right. So yeah, if it wasn't too big or it wasn't too little, well, it's just right. And that means I must have guessed the number. So we put out a message, great work, you guessed it. All right, so that's kind of our processing logic using an if else type structure, which we have done before if you've been following along with our course. And that'll pretty much be it for version 1. So once we've got the pseudocode and the logic worked out like that about what has to happen, what steps, in what order, and what checking we need to do, then we can convert that into Python code in this case, because we're doing Python programming. So there's our pseudocode we just talked about, and when we convert it, this is what happens. I will print a welcome message at the start, welcome to number guessing game, print quote with the space, that just prints a blank line, and the computer's just going to pick its number and set it to 7. The player guess. Now this is how you get the player to input a guess. It says enter a number from 1 to 10, but instead of using a print, we've used an input statement, so that'll get the flashing cursor at the end of the line so the player can enter in their value. And int means it has to be an integer value, all right? So it'll take an integer value as input, like a whole number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. If they're stupid, they can guess 47. We won't worry about that. We'll just assume, well, you just blew a guess, and that's because you're silly. You deserve to do that. And here's where that if-else logic, this is how it converts into Python. So you have to use if, elif, okay? And else for the last one. Okay, so that's it in Python, and that'll be the first version of the program. And then we'll move on to the second version, where rather than just get one guess, they'll get 3 guesses, which we'll do by using a while loop, and we'll show you that later on. Okay, so we're working on learning the following skills in this lesson. How to use that input statement. So rather than a print statement, we use an input statement, so the user can actually get sent a message, but they can respond to that message and type something in. We're going to use the if, elif, else decision processing, the branching processing there to process the player's guess and work out what situation it is. We're going to use the while loop. When they get multiple guesses, we just do that same stuff we did in the simple version 1 program, but we have a while loop. So while the number of guesses they've had is less than the maximum guesses they're allowed to have, spit out to them, okay, put in a number and check what their number looks like compared to the mystery number. And we'll have to use this string function. So when we're working in numbers inside the program, remember they're kind of in this 1001 binary format, and you can't spit them out and put them onto a screen and display them. So you have to use a string function to kind of string them up so that they're visible as normal character digits like 9, and then you can put them on the screen. But we'll explain that in detail later. We're going to use variables to allow the player to choose a difficulty level for the game. We're going to have these temporary debug statements. So as we build in Agile, we need to just check things are working out. So we can just put in temporary prints like print out what this value is and just show me on the screen, just so I can check that things look like they're going okay, just so we can do some checking. So we'll get into these debug statements that we use, and we're going to put printing things in messages like sentences in text, but also printing out the value of a variable and doing it all in one line by using the plus symbol to join things together, to join up something that's a word of sentences with something else that's a number that we've had to do the string function on so it can be displayed on the screen. And finally, we will introduce some error handling processing if the user types in some values that are too big. But most of the error processing and error handling we're going to do in the next lesson, actually, which is going to be on a thing called validation. So it's not in this lesson because we tried to put it into this lesson, but it turned out so long. This lesson is going to be long enough as it is. And so validation will be a separate lesson coming up next after this one. And of course we have a challenge task. The challenge task will be to guess the mystery destination. So you've won a mystery flight, wow, to a major city in the country you live in. And the whole idea is you don't know what city it is, but in this one, they're going to have 3 guesses to identify the mystery city. And if they do, they're also going to get a bonus $500 spending money for their mystery trip, but they will know the mystery destination. That's the only thing. If they don't guess it, it'll still remain a mystery, but they don't have $500 free spending money. All right, so we'll go into details and give you some hints on how to do that later on. And yeah, this is what it might end up looking like. So it says, congratulations, you've won a mystery flight to an Australian city. Now you can guess the mystery destination, win 500 spending money. So it's one of these 10 cities and you have to put in the number. So it's really just a number guessing game. So it could be a number between 1 and 10. Your guess is 4. And it looks like, wow, they got it right straight away. Brisbane was their mystery city that they are flying to. Okay, but more likely than not, they won't be able to guess it. So here they've guessed the city choice was 5. 5's Perth in Australia. So you can change these cities to be in the country that you're in, so it works for your particular program. And what happened with there, Perth was not the destination city, and then they had another guess, and they only get 3 guesses at it, okay? And then at the end, it won't tell them actually what the mystery city was. We'll leave that a mystery unless they've won the $500. Anyway, we'll talk more about that as well. So let's get across to the PDF step-by-step instructions. and go through all these versions of the program and the work you need to do. Okay, so these are the PDF instructions you get when you get the downloads for this video. So just go in the video description, there'll be a link there and you can click on the downloads. Check with your teacher. Your teacher may already have these downloads for you and be able to give them to you so that you don't have to bother downloading them from our site. Okay, so we've been through all of that stuff, the Agile, what we're going to learn in this program. We talked about version 1 of the program and the pseudocode, and we talked about putting it into Python language. So yeah, that's how it would look if we just copy our Python language out from PyScripter or MU or PyCharm, whichever editor you happen to be using, and that's what it looks like. Now, when you run it, if you're using PyScripter like we are, there's a bit of a problem with running it because you'll get these input boxes here, all right, that are put on, and what happens is all of the output goes in this bottom left-hand corner in the Python interpreter. It's kind of hard to see because you've got input boxes and results coming out here. And not all the time when you run it, we found this Python interpreter opens up and even shows you anything. All you get is the input box. So it's best to code your program like in PyScripter. Just click the green arrow to give it a run. But then after that, jump over into your Windows folders. Let's just show you quickly. And where your program is, just double click on it in your Windows folders, right? And you can see we did a lot of lesson work putting this lesson together, and then run it in this, okay? So just run it as a Python executable, all right? So that's the best way to approach doing this program and testing it. Okay, so it's better to run it here like in the Python executable. So like we showed you, just go into your folders where that .py is, double click on that and run it in the executable window and do it that way, okay? All right, so version 2. We're up to version 2 of the program. So we're building it up gradually. Got the foundation of our house. Let's start putting a few walls up. All right, so in version 2, all you have to do is add this extra code here. So we're setting the number of guesses that they've made already as 0 here at the start. They haven't had a guess yet. The max guesses they're going to be allowed to have is 3. And we just set up this while loop that while the number of guesses they've had is less than that max guesses, so if they're under the 3 maximum, it's going to ask them to put in a number and it's going to check their number. And we just have an extra thing here that will add on that they just had a guess. We've checked the number, it was too high, so we'll count, okay, they've had 1 guess, all right? And so we're just counting guesses here as well. And at the end, we're printing game over, plus we're printing out the number of guesses and the word guesses. So this is what we're talking about with this + join concatenation. In a print statement here, and remember this is pseudocode, not Python code, but the Python will look very similar to this. We have game over after, and then we put a +, then we put our variable name, number of guesses, and then we put just in quotes guesses, all right? So what will happen is you need to convert those things we've suggested there, which I think are pretty much already in Python code, except remember in Python, I think you don't put some of these things with capitals, like print is print in little letters. You have to try and put those things there in blue, add them to the existing program and see if you can get it working as a 3 guesses program. That's a little challenge task for you guys to do. So pause the video now and have a go at doing that and running it, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, so hopefully that ran all right, and what happened was that you found welcome to the guessing game, and you can enter a number between 1 to 10 and you get 3 chances to do it, and it tells you the game was over after 3 guesses. Here's one where they managed to guess it 5, and then they would kind of put 7 in, and 7 is that mystery number actually. So well done, you guessed it. Game over after 2 guesses. And I'll press any key to exit. So you can just press the enter key to enter. What happened here? They guessed it. Oh, well, they already knew the answer was 7. And so on this third one, they said, oh, enter a number from 1 to 10. Oh, I know from the previous game it's 7. So they put in 7 and they've guessed it straight away in one guess. Okay then, so what that means is that it's too obvious now that they know the mystery number is 7. So what we've got to do is we've got to make the computer come up with a different mystery number each time we run the program. And this is into version 3. So they're going to get 3 guesses because we've already got that fixed in our program. So what you do is you do file save as on the program you've just done and save that as version 2. And then you can do just make one little space change or something in the program, go file save as version 3. And version 3 is where we're going to add these things. So this line of code that said the computer number equals 7, just delete that out completely. It's not going to be 7. It's going to be a random number that the computer picks of its random number generator. So this code in here is what you need to put in. They're going to import the random number generator because it doesn't come standard with the light version of PyScripter or that loads up straight away. And the computer number now is going to equal random.randint 1, 10. What that line of code does is it makes the computer go to this random number generator and comes up with a number that could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. Just like you would if you were told, think of a number between 1 to 10. Well, you go, 6. Okay, so that's what the computer's going to do, but that's how you get the computer to think about it and come up with a mystery number that's between 1 and 10. And that's all we need to do. We're just not going to have it set to 7 every time. It's going to vary. It's going to be random, totally random, like a human doing it, that the computer will just think up a number. So when we run version 3 here, what happens is 1 to 10, the best thing to guess first obviously is 5 in the middle. That was too high, so we'll try 3, and 3 was right, we guessed it. So we run it again, 5, we'll try 5, then we try 2, and then we try 1, and we managed to get it guessed, and the game was over by 3 answers. Here it was 8 was too high, so we tried 7, that was too high, we tried 6, but 1, 2, 3, we've ran out of guesses, so game over after 3 guesses. And in this last run over in here, we tried 1, 2, and 3, and they were too low. So again, it was game over, and we did not guess the mystery number. So you can tell each time that we did not, we only got our 3 guesses, and that was all good. Later on, we will put something in here in a later version, which will just tell them what the mystery number was, because here we guess like 1, 2, and 3, but what was the mystery number? Was it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10? So later on, we'll put in another line of code here, which tells them what the actual mystery number was. But just in this simple version here in version 3, that's all we've done. So we're up to version 4, where we're going to add the game levels. So this is a long video, like we've already been going 22 minutes. If you want to take a break at any time, you can just pause the video, and in the video description there's a timeline index, so you can just click on the timeline where it says version 4, and you can come back later on and just work from here onwards looking at version 4. So version 4 is where we're adding game levels. There's easy, challenging, and difficult. And what we need to do to add the game levels is the main processing step. So we're going to have to start having subroutines now, Python defs in our program. And the main subroutine at the very bottom of the program, what we're going to have is that the player chooses a game level, and then based on the level they've chosen, we're going to set it that if it was easy that they chose, well, we need to do 1 to 10. If it was challenging, we need to do 1 to 100. If they've asked for difficult, level 3, we're going to have to set up 1 to 1,000. So we'll have to have the random number generator where the computer thinks up the number to think up the number in the correct range that matches the level they have chosen, all right? And so once we've got that sorted, that the computer generates that random mystery number in the correct number range for the level they chose, then we can just have the player playing the game until they either guess the mystery number or the maximum allowed guesses for that level is used up. So if they're playing easy level, they only get 3 guesses. So the maximum allowed guesses would be 3. So if once they've had 3 guesses, they've used them up and the game's over. But if they chose level 3, the hardest one, difficult, then they get 10 guesses. So the game won't be over until they either guess the number or until they've used up all of their 10 guesses. And last of all, we have end of game processing, where we're just going to tell them the final results, print them out, and we'll tell them what the mystery number was as well. Okay, so this final version 4 is going to be the final version of the program, actually. So for part 1, we're going to have to divide this up to part 1, because as you saw just up there, we've basically got 5 things to do here. So we got them choosing the game level and all of that. So we're not going to try and code all these extra additions into the program all at once. Okay, we're going to do them one at a time. So we're just going to try and get it working first up so that they can just choose a game level, okay? And what we're doing there is that we've got a subroutine, a def in Python, and you need to have done our previous lesson to understand what a def is. We're just going to have a def choose underscore level, okay? And in here you have print statements that just ask the player to choose a game level. 1 equals easy, 2 equals challenge, 3 equals difficult. And then we have our input. So they need to input a number, 1, 2, or 3. They don't have to type in easy or the word challenging. We'll make it a lot easier that they can just pick off a numbered menu, okay? So if they want challenging, they just type in number 2. So we're going to have that happen, all right? And then we've got to worry about global variables, okay? Because the variable of what game level they chose, we need to use that in other subroutines to know what level they're playing at. Because in other subroutines where they're going to have so many max guesses, we need to know that if they're playing level 2, that their max guesses is 6. So we need to set this as a global variable that can be used in other subroutines. Now, I don't know if we've talked about private and public and global variables before, but let's just look at me, look at Roy. Let's just take this pen here, right? If this pen is, I better not mess up my microphone. If this pen's clipped in here, right, on me in my shirt or in my shirt pocket, well then only I can use the pen, all right? Now that's like when you put something inside a subroutine def, only that subroutine def can actually get at that variable and use it. And the other subroutine defs in the program, like other people in this room, let's say, could not use that pen. But if I take this pen out and say, this is a global variable, this is a global pen, a public pen, and I just put it down on the table here and say, hey guys, if you need a pen, there's one on the table, then it's kind of global and anyone can use it. But in Python, we actually have to specify whether we've got it clipped onto us in our pocket in our subroutine where only we can use it, or whether it needs to be global so that everyone can use it. So we have to actually, this was tricky because usually you can just say global game level and that would work. But because that came from an input statement, we actually have to do a roundabout way. We have to have a new variable name called game level choice, and we make game level choice be global, and we set game level choice equals the game level. So here they picked the game level 1, 2, or 3, and here we're just setting this, putting what they picked into another variable called game level choice, which other subroutines can use as a global variable. Okay, that might all be very complicated this first lesson, but we will be using public, private, local and global, that sort of idea of variables again later on at another time. Now, this is all we're doing. We just want this to check out whether this subroutine's working. So we're going to put a debug print here. What we do is we say print, this is just a debug print that we're going to remove later. The level choice is, and we'll just put string their game level choice, because game level choice is a number. Remember, it's in 1001 crunched up computer stuff. You can't display it on the screen. We've got to put an str around it to make it into something that's readable to humans, like a base 10 number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In this case, 1, 2, or 3, which can be seen on the screen. So you have to do an str brackets here, game level choice. And here we just put, okay, the code below is the main processing controller for the program. So print this, choose the level, subroutine for player, and choose level. So it's going to go off and do this subroutine, then it's going to finish. And I should have told you, when we start version 4 here, we're starting a new program. Okay, we're going to copy and paste stuff from our other program into this, but at the moment we're just starting a brand new program, so you need to go File, New, and we're just having this code in the program, all right? And that while and if stuff we wrote previously, we're going to copy and paste that into here later on, all right? But for now, you just need a new program that just has this in it, all right? So start a new program, carefully type this in, remember to use your tab indents here of your tab key, and 4 spaces for the indent. So do it exactly like it is here and give it a run and see how it goes. So pause the video now and do that. All right, so running the program, just checking out how these game levels work at the moment. So it says, welcome to the number guessing game. Choose a game level, 1, 2, or 3. So if they type in 1, see that debug print came in there and told us the level choice is 1, and that's all working well. Okay, so here, welcome to the number guessing game. We can see the input statement has made them type in they've typed in a 2 using the input statement in the program there. So the print debug is telling us their level choice is 2, and that all works out well. That 2 which they typed in has gone into our program variable, our global variable of level choice. And we'll just do it one more time for 3 to make sure that's working. Level choice is 3. Press any key to exit. Now, what if they are silly and they type in level 5? Okay, well, it just says the level choice is 5, but that's not going to work out too well, because later on in our processing, when we pass that global level choice variable to other subroutines, a 5 isn't going to cut it, because they're only going to think, this is a 3-level game, I'm expecting a 1, 2, or 3. Why is this 5? Where did this 5 come from? What's this doing in here? So that's going to be a problem. So we're going to fix that up later on. We'll put in some processing in the next subroutine that handles that situation. But a more serious problem is with validation, that if this game level variable here, that if someone types in a non-numeric value, so if someone misunderstands and when they're picking their choose the game level and they don't realize, oh, you just type in a 1, 2, or 3, and they think I'll type in the word easy, and they do that. See here, level choice equals easy. They typed in easy. What happens is, because easy is not a number and we're expecting an integer number for our program, it'll actually crash. Which is really bad, and we get this red highlighting on the screen, all this red writing in our output. If you're running it as the PyExe, it just disappears and doesn't tell you anything. But if you run it in your PyScripter or PyCharm or MU, it'll have a crash and do all this, which isn't good. Now, we're going to fix all that in the next lesson, because there's too much to do it in this lesson, but just be aware of that if you type in words here, it does crash the program. We really ideally want 1, 2, and 3 typed in there. So part 2 here is where we set the game parameters for the chosen level. Okay, so let's get into this. So we've got them choosing 1, 2, or 3, or 5 if they're silly, for the game level. And based on that, we need to set up that if they chose 1 easy, we need the parameters or the values to be 1 to 10 for the guessing. If it's level 2, 1 to 100. If it's level 3, 1 to 1,000. And the maximum number of guesses, we need to set that up that they're allowed to have before the program game's over. So the program has 3 levels. Guess 1 to 10 with 3 guesses. 1 to 100, 6 guesses, 1 to 1,000 with 10 guesses. So we need to set up this next subroutine. So we do def set level parameters. So underneath where you typed the previous subroutine, okay, which was def where they're getting the level, here we need to have a new one. So this goes straight under that other def. We got def set level parameters. So we need a global variables here of the upper limit and the max guesses they're allowed to have. So if they've chosen 1, the upper limit is 10. They're only choosing numbers between 1 and 10. So 10 is the upper limit, the biggest number they can have, and the max guesses they can have is 3. And then we do an elif if their game level choice is identical, equal to 2. So make sure you use these double equal signs for identically equal. If it's identically exactly equal to 2, then we want to set it, the upper limit is 100. They can guess from 1 to, the computer can do from 1 to 100. They can guess from 1 to 100, and then they get 6 guesses. If they've chosen level 3, it's going to be 1,000 for the upper limit and number of guesses 10. And this is where we take care of those 5s and those other problem numbers. So else, if they haven't chosen 1, 2, or 3, we're going to put out a message. You needed to enter 1, 2, or 3. And because they seem to be a bit, basic and not too good, we're just going to set the level to 1 to make it nice and easy for them. So in the computer program, we'll just set the level as 1 and put the upper limit as 10 and the max guesses as 3 and tell them the level has been set at level 1. So if they enter 5, 6, 7, any other numbers, it's just going to get this message here, set it back to level 1, and they'll be able to play at level 1 with 3 guesses. And we'll have a couple of debug prints on this to check out that it's working properly. So we'll print out what the upper limit is, what did the upper limit come out of, and we need to string that up, and what the max player guesses came out of. So it will have done this processing here, depending on what level they chose. We want to make sure that processing is working correctly. If they chose level 2, hopefully in this printout, we'll see that the upper limit is 100, because level 2 is guessing 1 to 100. And if they've chosen level 2, we'd want to see that the max player guesses comes out as 6, because you're supposed to have 6 guesses for level 2. All right, so we're adding this programming in next. So you need to pause the video, type this subroutine in, but just before you do that, you will also have to, down the bottom of our program, you will have to type in that depending on the level they've chosen, right, we'll have to tell it to go off and do this set level parameters brackets. That's just my cursor sitting there from the print screen. So down this main part of the program, we get in to choose the level. That was the first def we wrote and we just tested, and that all works. Now the second def that we're writing, the set level parameters one, we need to check that that works. So you'll need to tell Python to actually do that subroutine with a set level parameters down here. So the new set level parameters, don't put it underneath this code. It needs to be above this one here, and it also needs to be underneath the first one we wrote. So it's going to kind of be right in the middle of your program. Okay, when you run this, what should happen is they choose the level, so they've chosen level 2, and the debug statements tell us that they chose level 2, that's what they typed in. The upper limit's 100, max player guesses is 6. So that processing's all working perfectly. That's what we want for level 2. For level 1 here, we want it from 1 to 10 with 3 guesses. That's working beautifully. If they choose level 3, we want it to do the upper limit is 1000, level choice was 3. The number of guesses can be 10 at level 3. And if they do silly things like type, I want to do level 10 extreme, well, there is no level 10 extreme. So it'll just come back and say, you needed to enter 1, 2, or 3. The level's been set at level 1, and the upper limit's going to be 10, max guesses is 3, okay? So we've got that error handling in there now for if they type numbers bigger than 3. So that's called range checking validation, but we're going to talk about that a lot more and do a lot more validation and things in the next lesson, okay? So we're getting close. We've done another step towards finishing version 4, the final version of the program. We've got them picking a level to play at. We've got the right parameters for the level, the right number range that our random number is going to be in, the right number of guesses that the player is going to be allowed to have. So that's all going really good. So let's write the next bit. So the next bit is where the computer picks that random number depending on the level. Okay, so we need another def subroutine. So in our program, remember, don't put this right down the bottom of the program. That's where the main processing steps go. This needs to be sort of in with the other defs that we've been doing. And you need to add in def make mystery number brackets. All right, if you're really confused, later on, if you've got the downloads, you can go in this document. It gives a full listing of the program so you can see where things exactly have to go. So we need this global computer number and import our random number, and we do it from 1 to whatever the upper limit value is, okay? So we're using variables now for the random number. Remember, our previous def subroutine set the correct upper level is 10, 100, or 1,000, depending on what level they're playing at. And so we're going to use that value, that variable value, and it had to be global so it could come into this subroutine as well, the upper limit. So it's going to generate a number between 1 and whatever their upper limit is for their level they're playing at. And again, we'll just have a debug just to make sure this is all working. And then down the very bottom of the program, where we should not be putting these defs, because this is just where we tell them what def subroutines to do in what order for the main processing, right down the very, very bottom of your program, you'll need to have, we've chosen the level, we set the level parameters, this new one, make mystery number. Okay, so put that all in and pause the video, get that all typed in and run it. When you run it, what should happen is that you can see here, it's generated a random number as 7. So this was a level 1, 1 to 10, that's good. This was level 2, so expecting a number between 1 and 100. It's generated 80, that's great. Level 3, it's supposed to do a number between 1 and 1,000. It's generated 831, but it could generate 5. I mean, it could generate anything between 1 and 1,000 because it's generated a big number. We know that's definitely working. So you might run it a few times to see that happening. And here, if they choose level choice 99, extreme, 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 what'll happen is now you've got to enter 1, 2, or 3, and it's just going to set them back as level 1. So that's all working. So we've got them saying what level they want to play at. We're setting the parameters or boundaries or values for that level. We've got the computer picking the right sort of random number that goes correctly for that level. And so now we're ready to play the game. So the next part is where the player makes their guesses, okay? So the player's going to guess the game until the player either guesses the mystery number or all their guesses are used up, whatever comes first. So this is where we pretty much use the same while loop which we used in our previous programs, okay? But we're going to put it in a subroutine. This is a big program, so we've got to break it all into subroutines. So we're going to have def player does guessing. And if you look at this code, you can copy this in to your program that you're writing at the moment, in with all the other defs. You can see it's pretty much the same as what we used in previous programs. So if you want to try and fast track it, you could try and copy and paste the previous program's version into this, and then just make sure it's okay. Now you can see there's some differences here. We're using string upper limit in here. Okay, so there are some slight changes which you need to be aware of, and make sure it looks exactly like this. And then we'll have to add that down into our list of things at the bottom in the main processing that we're now ready for the player does the guessing. And so when the player makes their guesses, we're now completing. You need to do lengthy testing and really test this thing out and make sure everything's working okay. So here they've chosen level 1. We've still got our debug statements in there just to check everything's working, and they do get their 3 guesses at level 1, and they managed to guess it too. Wow, that was pretty good. Here they're playing a bigger level, I'd say, because there's more output. This was level 3. And they guessed it in 9 guesses. They had 10 and they got it in 9. That was pretty good with their guessing. So you can see they did all that narrowing down kind of strategy as they were guessing, and that worked well. This one is a level 2 with 6 guesses. They got their 6 guesses and never got to the number, never got the right number. So that's that and working. Now we've still got debug displays in there, which we don't need in this final version. So what you need to do is where those debug displays are, we might need them later on if we're having problems with the program and need to see what's going on. So just put a hash sound or a pound sign or one of these crisscrosses in front of these so that they become comments. So they won't get done by the program. The program will just think it's some random writing explaining what the program's doing, internal documentation as it's called in the trade. And it won't print those out on the screen. So you need to sort of just put these little pound, hash signs, number signs, whatever you like to call them in your country, in front of them, just to neutralize them out. And they should go light gray if you're working in PyScripter. And then when you run it, you won't have those debugs in there. It looks nice and professional and clean. The only thing is we're not telling them, if they missed out on the number, we're not actually telling them what the real random mystery number was. So there will be something on that soon, but we haven't done that yet. Okay, now this is just a preview of the next lesson because, you know, they could enter silly numbers. If the Homer Simpsons of this world that just go, oh, do silly things, they might put in 200,000 or 56,000 as their guess, which they want to, and that'll just waste a guess. So the other biggest serious problem is they won't crash the program. It's just them being stupid and wasting a guess. But we should maybe give them a message and tell them, hey buddy, are you sure about that? Are you sure you read the instructions to the program and you're only supposed to put a number between 1 and 100 if you're playing level 2. But more seriously, if they type in the word 2, or if they put in decimals like 5.67, that's actually going to crash the program and the thing will just stop in its tracks with all this horrible red stuff and crash. So that's a really serious problem. You should never have computer programs crash. That's a really bad thing, just like cars crashing. It is a bad thing and we try to avoid it at all costs. So in the next lesson, we'll look at putting in a validation filter so that they cannot enter these sorts of numbers in. It'll stop at that stage, realize that, hey, they've put in dud input here. Let's let them know about it and let's not let it go further into the program and cause a crash. Okay, so version 4 of the program, adding game levels, there's some screen prints. Now here it is saying what the mystery number is. Okay, so we must have eventually added that in. Sorry, we've been a bit tricky with you here. These ones do say what the mystery number is. So look, here's the complete code listing which you'll get with the downloading. And see this player does guessing. Let's just go look at that subroutine. Game over after this many guesses. See, we did put in an extra print line here that says print the mystery number was, and we string up what the computer random number was so you can see what it was. So actually to tell them what the mystery number is at the end, which we weren't doing previously in the code we showed you, you just need to add in that print statement and that will fix that all up nicely. So get the downloads because that'll give you the full listing of this final version. So if yours isn't working and you're wondering why and can't get it fixed, you can always compare line by line with this and check out what's going on. So take a break because we're going to talk about the challenge task and then that'll be the end of the lesson and we'll give you some tips for the challenge task. Alrighty, the challenge task. We always have a challenge task for our programs. We're 45 minutes in and we're getting near the end, and this is going to be the challenge task. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I have to put a display in the video. Remember, I talk too slow, so you need to play these videos at like 1.25, 1.5 speed with the tools cog on the play bar. So hopefully you've been doing that, and this hasn't dragged for 45 minutes. You've been using 1.5 times, and I'm not sure what the maths is, but you've only been watching it for half an hour instead of 45 minutes. But anyway, mystery destination flight. So you've won a mystery flight to a major city. So you need the computer to randomly set one of 10 cities. So how we do it is we just set a random number between 1 and 10, just like you were doing in the learning task you did. And then we're going to need a big long if statement to map that number into its correct city. Now, if you're in Australia, you can use these as your 10 cities. Number 1 is Melbourne, number 2 Sydney, number 3 is Brisbane. That's what we just did for our 10 cities. But obviously, if you're in the USA watching this, you might have Los Angeles, New York, Kansas City. What else could you have? You could have, what's the one? New York. I've got to think. Chicago. I haven't been. Seattle. You could go to Seattle. You could go to Houston, Texas. That's a really good place. You could go to St. Louis. You could go to, what's the big city in Florida? Miami. You could go to Miami Beach, FLA. So you could easily get 10 of your American cities in there. And if you're English, not very good with England, you could go to London, or you could go to, trying to think of English soccer teams. You could go to Sunderland. Is there such a place as Sunderland? I don't know. You could go to 10 different places in England, or whatever city you're in. If you're in Indonesia, you could go to Denpasar. You could go to Jakarta. You could go to, can you go to Yogyakarta or whatever? Is there an airport there? I don't know. It's Indonesia, whatever your country is, use your 10 cities. I'm just wasting time talking too much here. Okay, so the sample program runs. Here's how we set ours up. So we just put 1 to 10 and the names of the city. So if they want to pick Hobart as their city, they'd have to type in a 9. Here they've picked number 4, Brisbane, and that was actually the computer's random number between 1 and 10 was 4. So they've guessed it, and we can tell them, hey, your mystery city is Brisbane, and you'll have an extra $500 to spend there now, spending money. That's how it all works out in this little game we're playing. Now, if you want to play a longer game here, they got it wrong first time here. They've Perth, so we know that it's not Melbourne and it's not Perth. And they tried choosing 8 Canberra, and that wasn't it either. So at least they know, I guess, that it's not Melbourne and it's not Perth and it's not Canberra, but it could be any of these other cities. We don't tell them. We just keep it a mystery. So have fun visiting your mystery destination. Okay, so if they actually guess it, we confirm it. We say with them at the bottom here, your mystery destination is city number 4, Brisbane, if they manage to guess it, and we give them $500. But if they don't manage to guess it, don't spoil the mystery for them. That's the whole idea of a mystery flight. They don't know what city they're going for. They don't know what to pack. They've got to pack really big coats in case it's a cold city, or their swimsuit if it's a really hot city. So you got to pack so much for a mystery flight. Okay, so here they didn't guess it. We'll just say have fun visiting a mystery destination. And here's some stuff to help you out in the downloads about it. So this is how you kind of do your mapping here to set up that if the computer random numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be the actual name of the mystery city, depending on what number they computer generated as its random number up here. So it's just generating a random number between 1 and 10. And you can also do that with what they guess. You can set up another one of these for the player's guess number, okay, to map the numbers into cities. Alrighty, so that's the end of the lesson. All right, so remember our full Python programming course is on Passy'sWorldOfICT.com. And if you've never been there, okay, so on Passy'sWorldOfICT.com, if you click on the Python index tab up the top, it'll take you into the Python course. And we started off our Python by doing a hello world, but then we did a whole bunch of really fun kind of Python turtle graphics. And in that, we actually learnt while loops, we learnt if, we learnt random numbers, all these things we've been talking about today. If you've done all these, you know all this stuff already. It should be really easy. If you haven't, you've got some learning to do. And here we're up to the guess the number game, and that'll be up soon. You'll be able to click here to get to the downloads, but we're just doing the video now. We'll update that later on today, and that's all we're up to. And the next Python lesson, well, the next one's not a mystery. It's going to be the validation exercise, but we'll get onto that later. Okay, so we'll get on to validation when we do the next lesson. So thanks for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this video. So if you found it useful and found it interesting and think it's pretty cool, give it a big thumbs up like on YouTube. And remember to subscribe to our channel because we're putting up videos every week or 2 weeks. This one's been a while because Australian Open tennis was on and I work as a photographer and I had to go do hundreds, thousands of tennis photos at the Australian Open. I've finished that and finally got back to making videos again. So hopefully next video will come out sooner. But anyway, subscribe to the channel so you get notified and we'll see you in the next Python lesson. Okay.